And it was some ways that classic lesbian story that we met, fell in love, and 4 months later moved in together. So Daria is a big personality and a little package.
My name is Daria Pascali.
How do I describe it? It's like she looks like a spark, but she's really a flame.
Lori is a wonderful woman.
My name is Lori Sheffer.
She's from Michigan. She has a beautiful soul.
When you meet Daria, immediately there is a connection. She has this way to really make you feel included.
She is a great listener. She's very intelligent.
And how did you guys meet?
January of 1988, I basically came to New York with just enough money to get me through. I took a job, sight unseen, and drove from Muskegon, Michigan to Montrose, New York. I had to drive across the Hudson River in January. I met Daria 3 weeks later.
And when we first met through our friend Penny, she was kind of very punk rockish. And I still am preppy.
We're very different. I was coming out of my punk rock stage. I had that flat top with the long hair, and the coloring was just coming out of it. And
I didn't like her music.
Still was wearing the safety pins in my collars, and Daria was very preppy.
And so we didn't really like each other at first.
We didn't really, think much of each other. But then we sat down to talk. And
she was working in therapeutic recreation at the time, and I was working in adapted phys ed.
We had so much in common.
That common interest helped us realize that, we could develop a friendship and then, of course, a relationship.
And it was some ways that classic lesbian story that we met, fell in love, and 4 months later moved in together.
So did you wind up coming out once you met Daria to your family, or what was that process like?
I came out beforehand. My first girlfriend and I lived together at college, and she decided she didn't want to be together anymore after almost 2 years. And so I needed a place to live. And so I was looking in the classifieds, looking for a place to live off campus. And I saw this ad for an open-minded household needed a roommate. And I thought, oh, that's one of those key words, right, that you look for, open-minded. It was pretty much all gay people who were living there. And I went from being closeted to being around these amazing gay people. I was introduced to the rich history filled with culture. I also became a part of the lesbian and gay community of Michigan State. So in the midst of all this, my mom is beginning to pick up little facts. And my sister, who is 7 years younger than me, came to visit me. And she was 17 or 18, and she went home. And my mom, of course, did some prying and figured it out. So I'm working at the pizzeria, and I come home from work, and I get a call. My mom says, "Lori Ann, you have to come home." It's a Wednesday. And I'm like, "Well, Ma, I can't. I got class. I got school. I want you home now." "Well, Mom, it's 2 hours away." "I don't care. You drive home today. I want you home." I'm going, oh, this is it, So I'm crapping my pants. So I drove home, and my mom immediately said, "Is there something you want to tell me?" And my sister's sitting there. So giving me that look. And so I did. I don't remember my exact words, but I did come out to her. And her first question was, "Well, how come you didn't tell me?" And I said, "Well, I was afraid. I was afraid you wouldn't love me anymore. I was afraid of losing my family. And so in my family, is my everything." And she said, she got really upset and started to cry and said, "I would never not love you. I'm just hurt that you didn't tell me, that you wouldn't trust me enough with that information." So that was about 1985. So my life changed dramatically.
Okay, now fast forward back to New York, where Lori and Daria have met. Lori was out, but Daria was...
Well, I was never out officially with my job. okay, ever. You know, in 1989, on the back of my teaching certificate from New York State, if you're found to be doing anything immoral, and New York State Ed decides what's immoral, then we're going to, you know, take away your teaching certificate, and that's my livelihood. People knew, I think, but it was kind of like with the military, don't ask, don't tell. Even to my parents, I was at that Washington, D.C. AIDS quilt march, and I called my mother and I said, I'm fine. I'm down here in Washington, D.C. Of course, it's in conjunction with the big march on Washington for gay and lesbian equal rights. And my mom had seen something on TV, and, you know, they always seem to project the more outrageous queers on TV. And so she's like, well, you're not marching with those lesbians, are you? And I said, well, as a matter of fact, I am, because Martina was like at that march and she's telling everybody, come out of the closet, come out of the closet, blah, blah. And so I told my mom, yes, I am. And she said, well, I think that's disgusting. And I said, okay, Mom, well, I'm going to go now. And I hung up on her. And Lori's reaction was, oh my gosh, you hung up on your mother. But, you know, once they realized that we were going to be together, they had to either accept it or not. Anyway, they liked Lori. They didn't like the idea of us being gay. I think they were grieving the heterosexual child that would get married and have kids. But I didn't actually ever verbalize to my dad, I'm gay, I'm lesbian, and this is my partner, because you're afraid of being rejected. I mean, shoot, some kids are told to get out of their house and they're homeless, and yet I think he knew and he understood and he accepted us both. But I'm 64 and the words did not come easily. This time in my life, now that I'm retired, it's rather freeing. I can be who I want to be, and people can either leave me alone or interact with me.
What are some things that you respect about each other?
I respect the fact, I don't always like it, but I respect the fact you speak your mind.
Yeah, I do try to get my way a lot.
My name is Jonathan, and I've known the ladies since December 2010.
This is Jonathan, a close friend of Lori and Daria's.
I have never met two people so different that work so well together.
This morning we went out for breakfast together, and it seems like a really simple, small thing, but it was like a fun little breakfast date. Being 64, every day is a bonus, every day is a gift. I've got friends that have lost people, and we take time to, put the other person first. I don't tend to take things for granted now.
Everything is a date to us when we're out together, and so it's funny, we just don't look at dates being just the movies or theater. Every moment that we get to go out together, we try to find joy in it. What happens in a long-term relationship is being willing to really open yourself up and acknowledging that as your life story unfolds, there's going to be points when you may not be as emotionally available as the other one. And that's part of the compensation as a couple, is being able to work with that and understand that, and give your best in the moment. And not every moment is going to be, it can't be fabulous, right? But it's that love, that thing, that trust that really comes in.
I think, we're together 35 years, and you got to talk about that ebb and the flow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a constant,
Yeah.
We're lucky because we also have, the spiritual connection,
Yeah.
Which is another layer, which is such a beautiful thing.
And two women who went through menopause at different times, that's, right? This is life.
So I know that y'all had exchanged rings and got legally married, but was there a point where you were like, this is my life partner, like this is who I'm gonna be committed to?
Yeah, no, I knew right away. And I also didn't think there were very many lesbians on the planet at that time. So I was like, ooh, I found a good one. I got to keep this one,
Well, we lived together for a year from 1988 to 1999. I'm not sure, really. I was young. I was 25. And I wasn't really sure I wanted to settle down. But she was.
I just knew it was like kismet. I just knew that this was the person for me. And I was just hoping that she felt the same way, because it's almost as if we had known each other in a previous life. It's just the weirdest thing.
In that year, I really began to understand that there was something between us that was this connection that you couldn't see. There was like this cord between us that was very beautiful. And that's when we had our commitment ceremony. And that's when I said, this is it. No, unfortunately, it's not like we could have a wedding ceremony. We had to wait 23 more years to have that.
People were doing civil unions, and I thought, well, that's nice, but there's no legal aspect to it. So I think it was June, and then we got married in September. So, it was a bing, bing, bing.
And that was the best day of my life. It's like I waited 23 years, to marry the love of my life.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your relationship?
3, 2, 1.
10.
Oops. I thought about a 10, but I was like, I don't know if anybody can be that perfect.
I thought about 9.5.